It started with a phone call I was not supposed to hear. I was in the garage, tinkering with the old coffee table Emily had been begging me to fix for months. My phone buzzed with a notification from our doorbell camera. Motion detected. It was Emily, standing at the door, phone pressed to her ear. Her face was serious, her tone hushed. I had the live feed on, not intending to eavesdrop. But the words came through clearly. I say not keep lying like this. No. I do not want to hurt him, but I do not know how much longer I can do this. The feed cut as she stepped inside, the door clicking shut. My hands froze mid-zan. And for a second, the world went silent except for the deafening hum of my own pulse. I was not sure what I just heard, but something about the way she said him felt wrong. I did not bring it up right away. It was not just the fear of the answer. It was the strangeness of the situation. Emily was not one to mince words. If something was wrong, she would have said so. Or at least that's the version of her I thought I knew. The next day, everything felt rehearsed. She was overly attentive, which was unlike her. Emily's version of affection was a quick kiss on the cheek, or a sarcastic remark about how I'd forgotten to put the milk back in the fridge. But now she was making me breakfast, laughing a little too hard at my jokes and asking me questions like she actually cared about the answers. And her phone. It was glued to her hand like it held the key to a secret life. Whenever it buzzed, she'd swipe it away before I could glance at the screen. Once, I caught a glimpse of a name. Hannah. Who's Hannah? I asked casually. Emily did not even flinch. Oh, a new coworker. She's got 1,000 questions about everything. Total newbie energy. Her explanation was smooth, almost too smooth. I let it slide, but the pit in my stomach was growing roots. Then came Thursday. She said she had a late meeting and would not be home until after 9. Fine, nothing unusual. I decided to grab dinner with a friend, Mike. But on the way back, traffic rerouted me through downtown. That's when I saw her. She was walking out of a restaurant. One of those overpriced rooftop spots we'd always joked was too fancy for us. She was not alone. A guy mid-30s sharp suit had his hand on her lower back as they walked toward his car. I slammed on the brakes so hard. The guy behind me honked for a solid 10 seconds. My heart was hammering against my rib cage. I pulled over shaking and stared as they got into his car and drove off. I did not follow them. Maybe I should have, but something about seeing her like that, her body language so relaxed, the way she looked up at him and laughed. It was enough to feel like a knife had been driven straight through me. When she got home that night, I was waiting. I'd cooled off just enough to keep from exploding the second she walked in. Hey, how was your meeting? I asked, keeping my voice neutral. She hesitated for a split second. Long, boring. You know how these things are. Yeah, where was it? She blinked, caught off guard. The usual place downtown. Why? Funny, I said, leaning back on the couch. I drove through downtown tonight, did not see your car anywhere. Her face turned a shade paler, but she recovered quickly. I parked in the garage. You probably would not have noticed it. I stood up, walking closer. You sure you were not at that rooftop place on 5th? With someone named Hannah? Maybe that's when I saw it, the tiniest flicker of panic in her eyes. It was gone in an instant, replaced by something sharper. She crossed her arms, tilting her head like I was the one being ridiculous. Are you serious right now? She snapped. You think I went out to dinner instead of being at a work meeting? What is this? Some kind of interrogation. The audacity of her response hit me like a freight train. She was not just lying. She was doubling down, throwing the blame back at me. I did not know what was worse. Her lies or the fact that she was so comfortable telling them. That night I did not sleep. My mind was a storm, piecing together every odd moment, every excuse, every slip of the mask. Something was happening, and whether I wanted to or not, I was about to find out the truth. The next morning, Emily acted like nothing had happened. She kissed me on the cheek before heading to work. Her voice light, her demeanor perfectly calm. Meanwhile, I was standing in the kitchen, staring at the coffee maker as if it held the answers. Her reaction the night before had been so deliberate. It was not just denial. It was a performance. I decided I was not going to wait for the truth to come to me. I started small. First, I checked our shared credit card account. We do not micromanage each other as spending. But the charges on there have always been predictable. Groceries, gas, the occasional dinner out. But buried among the usual transactions was one that caught my eye. A charge for that same rooftop restaurant on 5th, $178.56. It was from 2 weeks ago on a Thursday. That was the night she declaimed she was stuck at work, saying her team was burning the midnight oil. I could still hear her voice in my head, apologizing for being late and swearing she'd make it up to me. The pit in my stomach deepened. Then came the phone records. I was not proud of it, but I accessed her call log through our shared carrier account. One number showed up repeatedly late at night, sometimes for an hour or more. It was not saved in her contacts, and I did not recognize it. I ran a quick reverse lookup online and came up with a name. Evan Carter. I stared at the screen, my hand gripping the edge of the desk. My thoughts raced. Was this the guy from the restaurant? The one who had his hand on her back? I did not have a face to match the name, but it did not matter. I knew enough. By this point, I could not sit still. I needed answers, but Emily was not the kind of person you could corner without proof. She was smart, quick on her feet, and had a way of turning any argument into a lecture about trust. So I waited. I needed her to slip up and slip up. She did. The opportunity came that weekend. Emily had a work retreat, an overnight stay at some resort with her team. The timing was too convenient. She'd barely mentioned it before, but now it was suddenly a mandatory event. She packed light, taking only a small duffel bag and her laptop. Her tone was cheerful, casual, like she was heading off to summer camp. "Do not miss me too much," she said with a wink before kissing me goodbye. I watched her drive off, her tail lights disappearing down the street, and my resolve hardened. This was it. I called Mike. He is my best friend and the kind of guy who knows how to get things done without asking too many questions. When I explained the situation, he did not hesitate. "Say the word, man. I'm there." We spent the afternoon staking out the resort. It was not glamorous. Two grown men sitting in a car sipping gas station coffee, but I did not care. Around 7 p.m., Emily's car pulled into the lot. I held my breath as she stepped out, dressed in something that was definitely not work retreat material. A short black dress, heels, and a coat I'd never seen before. But it was not just her. Evan Carter stepped out of the passenger side, dressed like he was ready for a night on the town. He placed a hand on her lower back as they walked toward the lobby. She was smiling, laughing, in a way I had not seen in months. Mike looked over at me, his expression unreadable. "What do you want to do?" he asked. I did not answer. My hands were gripping the steering wheel so tightly that my knuckles turned white. The instinct in me screamed to get out of the car, to confront her right then and there. But I could not. Not yet. Instead, I waited until they disappeared inside, then followed at a distance. The resort's lobby was crowded, and I used it to my advantage, keeping to the shadows as they checked in. They were given a single key card, a single room. I felt like I was watching someone else's life unravel. After they disappeared down the hallway, I walked up to the counter. My heart was pounding, but I forced a calm smile. "Hey," I said to the receptionist, sliding a $50 bill across the counter. "My wife is staying here tonight, and I wanted to surprise her. Could you tell me which room Emily Carter is in?" The woman hesitated, glancing at the cash before nodding. "Room 214. I stood there for a moment, staring at the number, as if it held some kind of meaning. Finally, I turned and walked out. Back in the car, Mike broke the silence. "You gonna go up there?" I shook my head. Not yet, because this was not about catching her in the act. It was about making sure there was no way for her to talk her way out of it when the time came. I was done being played. I barely slept that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I pictured them in that room. Laughing, whispering, being intimate. My mind tortured me with images I did not want to imagine but could not stop. By morning, the anger had settled into a cold, unshakable determination. This was not just betrayal. It was humiliation. She'd lied to my face, taken advantage of my trust, and treated me like a fool. But the game was not over yet. Not for me. Mike, true to form, had my back. As we drove home from the stakeout, he asked, "What's your plan?" "You see, not sit on this forever." He was right. Could not. Emily needed to be confronted, but not without a strategy. I was not about to let her twist the story or gaslight me into questioning my own sanity. I needed undeniable proof. The first thing I did when I got home was log into our shared cloud account. Emily was not great with technology, which worked to my advantage. Her phone automatically synced to the cloud, and I combed through every photo, video, and file that had been uploaded in the past few months. It did not take long to find what I was looking for. A series of photos from the same rooftop restaurant. Her and Evan. Sitting close, wine glasses in hand. Her head tilted back and laughter. In one of them, his hand rested on her thigh. Another showed her leaning into him, her lips dangerously close to his cheek. But that was not the worst of it. There was a video, 30 seconds of her recording herself in a hotel mirror. Wearing lingerie I'd never seen before. She smiled at the camera. And whispered, "On my way, not wait to see you." My chest tightened as I hit play again and again. Every repetition a fresh stab to the heart. This was not a mistake. This was not just work. This was deliberate. I forwarded everything to my email, creating a folder labeled evidence. Felt clinical, almost detached, but it gave me a sense of control. By the time Emily got home from her retreat, I was ready. She walked through the door with her usual ease, setting her bag down and smiling at me like she had not just spent the weekend lying through her teeth. "Hey, you okay?" she asked, noticing the look on my face. I nodded, keeping my voice calm. "Yeah, just had a long night." "Oh," she tilted her head, feigning curiosity. "What happened?" I gestured to the couch. "Why do not you sit down? There's something we need to talk about." Her smile faltered, but she obliged, sinking into the cushions with a wary look. "Okay, what's going on?" I pulled up the photos on my laptop, turning the screen toward her. "Care to explain this?" Her face went pale. For a moment, she was frozen, her eyes darting between me and the screen. Then, like flipping a switch, she composed herself. "Where did you get those?" she demanded, her tone sharp. "That's what you worried about." I shot back where I got them. "Not the fact that you've been sneaking around behind my back." Emily's jaw tightened. "You went through my stuff? That's an invasion of privacy, Jake." I laughed bitterly. "Privacy? Is that what you're calling it now? Let's talk about how much privacy you've been giving Evan Carter." Her eyes narrowed and she leaned forward, her voice dripping with defiance. "You've got it all wrong." "Oh, really? Then maybe you can clear things up for me. Like why you were at the rooftop restaurant with him. Or what you were doing in room 214 this weekend." Her mask finally cracked. She stood up abruptly, her fists clenched. "How did you know where I was last night?" she snapped. There it was. The slip. The one thing I'd been waiting for. I leaned back, crossing my arms. "So you admit it?" Emily froze again, realizing her mistake. But instead of backtracking, she doubled down. "Fine. Yes, I was with him. But it's not what you think." I stared at her, my blood boiling. "Not what I think." "Really? So those pictures, that video, they read just what, Emily? Research?" Her voice rose. "It's complicated, Jake. You do not understand." "Then make me understand," I said coldly. She hesitated, her face twisting into something I barely recognized. Someone is, he just someone who listens. Okay? Someone who makes me feel appreciated. You do not. Do not? I interrupted. My voice like ice. Do not you dare turn this on me. I've given you everything, Emily. Trust. Love. Loyalty. And this is how you repay me. Her expression hardened. The mask of remorse slipping. Maybe if you'd paid more attention, I would not have had to find it somewhere else. That was it. The final blow. I felt something inside me snap. But instead of yelling, I stood up. My voice eerily calm. Congratulations. I said, you've just destroyed everything we had. I hope it was worth it. Emily's defiance flickered for a moment, replaced by something that almost looked like regret. But it was too late for that. I walked out of the room, her protests fading into the background. My mind was made up. This was not just the end of the conversation. It was the end of us. The house was unnervingly quiet after I walked out of the room. Emily stayed behind on the couch, probably reeling from what had just unfolded. I did not look back. Could not. Not with the anger and betrayal simmering inside me, threatening to boil over. I needed air. I grabbed my keys, slammed the front door shut, and drove without a destination. My hands gripped the wheel tightly, my mind racing as I replayed the confrontation in my head. Her excuses, her audacity, her complete lack of remorse. It was like staring into the eyes of someone I did not even know. I ended up in the parking lot of a local diner, the kind of place we used to visit when we first started dating. Back when life was simple and the biggest drama was deciding who'd pay for the milkshakes. I stared at the neon sign, my chest tightening. The irony was not lost on me. We'd built a life together. A home. Plans. Shared dreams. Now it felt like all of it had been a lie. I called Mike. He picked up after 2 rings, his voice cautious. You good man? Not really. I said, my voice raw. I confronted her. She admitted it. There was a pause on the other end. What did she say? I filled him in, sparing no details. By the time I finished, my knuckles were white from gripping the phone too hard. Mike exhaled sharply. Jake, you see, not let her keep spinning this. I was trying to make this your fault, man. Do not fall for it. I know. I said quietly. I'm done letting her manipulate me. I do not know what the next step is. You want my advice? Mike asked. Yeah. Talk to a lawyer. Today. Even if you're not sure about divorce, you need to know your options. Protect yourself. The word divorce hit me like a punch to the gut. I thought about it, of course, but hearing it out loud made it real. Still, Mike was right. I could not afford to sit back and hope things would magically fix themselves. By the time I got home, Emily was in the kitchen, sipping coffee like nothing had happened. Her eyes darted to me as I walked in. Wary but defiant. Where do you go? She asked, her tone casual but forced. Out, I replied curtly, heading straight for the bedroom. She followed me, leaning against the door frame as I grabbed my laptop and a few papers. So what now? Are you just going to give me the silent treatment? I stopped, turning to face her. No, Emily. I'm not giving you the silent treatment. I'm giving you space to think about what you've done, because once I've made my decision, there's no coming back from it. Her face twisted into a smirk. One that sent a wave of fresh anger through me. Oh, come on, Jake. Do not act like you're some perfect victim here. Relationships are complicated. I will make mistakes. Mistakes. I repeated, my voice rising. A mistake is forgetting an anniversary or saying something hurtful in an argument. This is calculated. Planned. You did not just trip and fall into his arms, Emily. You chose this. Her smirk faltered. And for a moment, I thought she might actually apologize. But instead, she crossed her arms and said, if you were not so wrapped up in your own world, I would not have felt so alone. There it was. The shift. The classic move of turning the blame around. But this time it was not going to work. "You're unbelievable," I said, shaking my head. "You've been lying to me for months, sneaking around with another man. And now you're trying to make it my fault." Her eyes flashed with anger. "Because you never listen, Jake. You're always so busy fixing things, working late, doing your own thing." I felt invisible. Evan noticed me. He made me feel wanted. The word stung, but I forced myself to stay calm. "You felt invisible. So instead of talking to me, instead of working through it, you decided to blow up our marriage? That's your solution." Emily's silence was deafening. She looked away, her jaw tight. For the first time, she seemed to realize she'd crossed a line she could not uncross. I did not wait for her to respond. I grabbed my keys and laptop and headed for the door. "Where are you going now?" she called after me, her voice tinged with irritation. "To figure out what my life looks like without you in it," I said without turning back. And just like that, I walked out, leaving her standing there. Alone with her choices, I drove to Mike's place. A small apartment on the edge of town that somehow always smelled like takeout and cheap cologne. He opened the door. His expression, a mix of concern and curiosity. "Come in," he said, stepping aside. I dropped onto his worn-out couch, laptop in hand. "I need your help," I said bluntly. Mike nodded, sitting across from me. "All right, what's the move?" I opened the folder I'd created with all the evidence. The photos, the video, the phone records. "I want this airtight," I said. "If this goes to court, I do not want her twisting it around and making me the bad guy. She's good at that." Mike leaned forward, scrolling through the files, his brow furrowed. "This is solid," he said after a while. "But you should still get a lawyer to back it up." "That's the plan," I said. "But there's more." Mike raised an eyebrow. "I want to know everything about this guy. Evan," I continued. "I need to know who he is, what his angle is. Is this just an affair? Or is there more to it? I see not let her blindside me again." Mike smirked. "You came to the right guy." Over the next few hours, we dug into Evan Carter's life. Social media accounts, public records, LinkedIn profiles, anything we could find. Turns out, Evan was not just some random guy. He was a VP at a marketing firm downtown. The same company Emily had recently started freelancing for. "Figures," Mike muttered. "Mike retreats, my ass." But that was not the real kicker. Evan was married. His wife, Claire, was tagged in dozens of his photos, usually smiling next to him at fancy galas or exotic vacations. Their anniversary post from last year read, 8 years and counting. Here's to forever. Holy sh. Mike caught himself. This dude's playing the same game she is. My mind was spinning. Evan was married, that meant his wife had no idea what was going on. Either the thought of reaching out to her crossed my mind, but I hesitated. Would it solve anything or just make things messy? Mike must have read my thoughts. "If you want to blow this up, she's your ticket," he said, "but that's a nuclear option. Are you ready for that?" I was not sure. Part of me wanted to call Claire right then and there to drag Evan and Emily into the mess they'd created. But another part of me, probably the part still clinging to some shred of decency, wanted to handle this quietly. For now, I focused on locking down my next move. The next morning, I met with a divorce attorney. Her name was Sarah, a no-nonsense woman in her 40s with sharp eyes and a sharper tongue. After I explained the situation, she leaned back in her chair, tapping her pen against her notepad. "You've got a strong case," she said. "The photos, the phone records, they paint a pretty clear picture. If you decide to file, we can move quickly. But I need to know. Are you absolutely sure about this?" I hesitated. Was I? Part of me still wanted to believe Emily, and I could salvage something from the wreckage. But every time I pictured her with Evan, laughing, whispering, lying to my face, the answer became clearer. "I'm sure," I said. Sarah nodded, scribbling something down. "Good. Advice? Do not confront her anymore. Let me handle the legal side. You focus on protecting yourself. I left her office feeling equal parts relieved and devastated. This was happening. There was no going back now. When I got home, Emily was in the kitchen, scrolling through her phone. She looked up as I walked in, her expression unreadable. You relate, she said. I had a meeting. I replied, my tone clipped. With who? That's none of your business. I shot back. Her eyes narrowed, but she did not press further. I headed to the bedroom, shutting the door behind me. My hands were trembling as I pulled out my laptop, checking the evidence folder again. It felt like the only thing grounding me, the only proof that I was not crazy. But as I stared at the screen, something shifted in me. I was not going to let Emily or Evan control the narrative anymore. They both made their choices. And now it was time for me to make mine. I picked up my phone and scrolled to Claire Carter's profile. My thumb hovered over the message button. My heart pounding. This was it. The point of no return. I hit send. It took Claire Carter less than an hour to respond. Her message was short. Cautious. Hi, Jake. I'm not sure I understand. What's going on? I stared at the screen, wondering how to phrase something like this without shattering someone else, but there was not a delicate way to tell her. She needed to know the truth just like I had. Hi, Claire. I typed. I think your husband, Evan, is having an affair with my wife, Emily. I have evidence if you want to see it. I'm sorry to bring this to you, but I thought you deserved to know. Her response came quickly and I could feel the tension behind her words. What evidence? I took a deep breath and started uploading the photos. The ones from the restaurant, the phone records, even the hotel receipt from their work retreat. I did not include the video. There was no need to humiliate her further. I hit send and waited. A few minutes later, Claire's name popped up again. This time her message was longer. I do not know what to say. This looks bad. I see and not believe it. I need time to process this. Thank you for telling me. I stared at her words, feeling a pang of guilt. Claire was not the enemy here. She was another casualty in this disaster, just like me. But the fallout did not take long to start. The next morning, I was sitting at the kitchen table, nursing a cup of coffee. When Emily came storming in, her face was flushed. Her phone clutched tightly in her hand. What the hell did you do? She demanded, slamming the phone onto the table. I did not flinch. What are you talking about? Claire. She spat. She called Evan last night. She knows everything. And now he is threatening to blow up my career if this gets out. I sipped my coffee, keeping my voice calm. I did not do anything except tell the truth. You and Evan are the ones who decided to lie and cheat. Maybe you should have thought about the consequences. Her eyes narrowed. And for a moment, she looked like she wanted to throw something at me. Do you have any idea what you've done? Evan is furious. He said Claire is talking to a lawyer. If she divorces him, she is taking half of everything. His reputation is going to be ruined. Good. I said, leaning back in my chair. Sounds like he is getting exactly what he deserves. And so are you. Emily's jaw dropped. Her indignation giving way to something else. Panic. You do not understand, she said, her voice softer now. This could destroy me, Jake. My clients, my job. Everything I've worked for. Everything you've worked for. I repeated, my voice rising. What about everything we worked for? What about our marriage? Or did that stop maturing the second Evan showed up? She did not answer. Instead, she looked away, her shoulders slumping. I stood up, my chair scraping against the floor. I'm done, Emily. I've already talked to a lawyer. I'm filing for divorce. Her head snapped up, her eyes wide. Jake, wait. No. I said firmly, you do not get to wait anymore. You had every chance to come clean, to be honest. Instead, you lied and now you're dealing with the fallout. This is on you. Her face crumpled. And for a moment I thought I saw genuine regret, but I did not care anymore. I walked out of the kitchen, leaving her standing there. Later that day, Claire called me. Her voice was shaky, but determined. I confronted him. She said he admitted it. All of it. I gripped the phone tightly. And we redone. She said, I've already contacted a divorce attorney. I'm not going to let him humiliate me like this. Thank you for telling me, Jake. I do not know if I would have ever known otherwise. Her words hit me harder than I expected. It was not relief or satisfaction. It was a hollow kind of sadness. We'd both been blindsided by the people we trusted most. And now we were left picking up the pieces. After we hung up, I sat in silence for a long time. The house was too quiet, too still. Emily stayed in the bedroom, avoiding me. And for once, I was grateful for the distance. The dominoes were falling one by one. There was no stopping it now. And maybe that was for the best. The house felt like a war zone. Silent but heavy with the unspoken tension between Emily and me. She stayed holed up in the bedroom, emerging only when she thought I would not be around. I did the same, avoiding her as much as possible. The air between us was suffocating. 3 days after the confrontation, the chaos escalated. Emily burst into the living room while I was on the phone with Sarah, my lawyer. She looked disheveled, like she had not slept in days. Her eyes were red. Her hair pulled back in a messy knot. Jake, we need to talk. Now, she demanded, ignoring the fact that I was mid-conversation. I held up a hand. I'm on the phone. This can wait. No, it's not. She snapped, grabbing the arm of the couch. I know you filed for divorce. I got the notice today. Sarah's voice on the other end was calm but firm. Do you want me to stay on the line? No, I'll call you back, I said, hanging up. I turned to Emily, my patience wearing thin. What do you want, Emily? Your voice cracked. A mix of desperation and anger. I want to know why you're redoing this. We can work through this, Jake. We've been through tough times before. I laughed bitterly, shaking my head. This is not just a tough time. You did not forget my birthday, Emily. You cheated. You lied. 4 months. And now you want to act like we can just sweep this under the rug. She flinched but recovered quickly, her expression hardening. It's not like you were perfect, Jake. You were always so focused on your work, your projects. I felt like an afterthought in my own marriage. There it was again, her favorite excuse, twisting the blame back onto me. But I was not falling for it this time. You felt like an afterthought? I repeated, my voice rising. So your solution was to run into the arms of another man? Do you have any idea how selfish that is? She crossed her arms, her jaw tightening. It's not that simple. Evan made me feel alive again. He made me feel seen. I took a step closer. My fists clenched at my sides. And what about me, Emily? What about how I felt? I was here every single day trying to build a life with you. And you were out playing house with another man. Her lip trembled, but she quickly masked it with defiance. Maybe if you'd paid more attention. Enough. I yelled, cutting her off. You do not get to rewrite the story, Emily. You do not get to make this my fault. You made a choice, and now you're dealing with the consequences. She stared at me, her face pale. For the first time, she looked like she had nothing left to say. Do you even love him? I asked, my voice quieter now. She blinked, her mouth opening and closing as if she could not decide how to answer. I do not know, she finally whispered. I nodded, the final piece of my resolve falling into place. That's what I thought. I turned to leave, but her voice stopped me. Jake, wait, she said, her tone softer now, almost pleading. Please, we can fix this. I know I messed up, but I still love you. Does not that mean anything? I froze, her words slicing through me. A part of me wanted to believe her, to hold on to the life we'd built together. But the damage was done. Trust was not something you could glue back together once it was shattered. I turned to face her, my expression cold. It's too late, Emily. You did not just betray me, you destroyed us. There's no coming back from that. Her shoulders slumped, and for a moment she looked like she might break down. But instead, she straightened up, her face hardening once again. Fine, she said, her voice icy. If that is how you feel, then do not expect me to make this easy for you. I did not respond. There was nothing left to say. When I walked out of the room, I realized that the Emily I thought I knew was gone. Or maybe she'd never been there in the first place. Either way, the woman standing in front of me now was a stranger, and I was done fighting for her. The collapse was complete. And now, all that was left was to pick up the pieces and figure out what came next. The morning after that final confrontation, the house felt emptier than it ever had before. Emily was still there, but it was like she'd vanished in spirit. She barely spoke, and when we crossed paths, the tension was unbearable. Every glance, every word carried a weight that threatened to crush the fragile truce between us. I started sleeping in the guest room. It was not much, a single bed, a nightstand, and a lamp, but it was mine. It became my sanctuary, a place where I could think without her shadow looming over me. The divorce proceedings moved quickly. Sarah was efficient, cutting through the paperwork and negotiations with the precision of a surgeon. Emily fought back at first, trying to claw her way to a better settlement. But she did not have much leverage. The evidence was stacked against her, and Sarah was not the type to lose a battle. Still, Emily could not resist a few final jabs. "Do you really need to take the house?" she asked during one of our mediated sessions. Her voice was sharp, her eyes cold. "It's not just the house," I said, meeting her glare. "It's my home. You gave up your right to it when you brought someone else into it." Her lips tightened, but she did not argue. Even she could not spin her way out of that one. By the end of the month, she was gone. She packed her things without saying a word, leaving behind a few stray items that I tossed into a box and set by the curb. Watching her car pull out of the driveway for the last time felt surreal. I thought I'd feel relief. But instead, there was just silence, a new beginning. The days that followed were a blur of adjustments. I threw myself into work, into hobbies I'd neglected, into anything that kept my mind from spiraling. Mike was a constant presence, dragging me out for beers or convincing me to join him at the gym. "You're doing better than most guys would," he said one night as we sat at a bar. "You're handling this like a champ." I shrugged, sipping my drink. "What choice do I have? I see a not change what happened." "True," he said, leaning back. "But you can decide what happens next. Do not let her take any more from you." His words stuck with me. One Saturday, I found myself standing in the middle of the living room, staring at the furniture we'd picked out together. The photos that once hung on the walls. It still felt like her space, a place haunted by memories I did not want anymore. So I made a decision. I spent the next week gutting the house, the couch, the dining set, the framed photos gone. I repainted the walls, replacing the soft blues Emily had chosen with deep grays and warm wood tones. I replaced the bedroom furniture, swapped out the curtains and hung new art. By the time I finished, the house felt different. It was not ours anymore. It was mine, an unexpected message. One evening, as I sat in my newly decorated living room, my phone buzzed with a notification. It was a message request on social media from Claire. "Hi Jake. I hope you're doing okay. I just wanted to check in and thank you again for telling me the truth. It has been hard, but I think I'm finally starting to move on." I stared at the screen, unsure how to respond. After everything that had happened, I was not sure if I wanted to open that door. But her message did not feel intrusive. It felt genuine. I typed back, "Hi Claire. Thanks for reaching out. It has been rough, but I'm getting there. I'm glad to hear you're doing okay." Her reply came quickly. "Maybe we could grab a coffee sometime? No pressure, just it might be nice to talk to someone who understands." I hesitated, my thumb hovering over the keyboard. Was this a good idea? Or was I setting myself up for more heartbreak? Finally I typed, "I'd like that. Looking forward." That night, as I lay in bed, I realized something. For the first time in weeks, the knot in my chest had loosened. The anger, the sadness, the betrayal, they were still there, but they did not feel as heavy. I'd lost a lot, but I'd gained something too. Clarity. I knew who I was, what I wanted, and what I would never tolerate again. Emily's betrayal had broken me, but it had not destroyed me. And as I drifted off to sleep, I felt a flicker of something I had not felt in a long time. Hope.